Euthanizing a bear after finding it scavenging on human remains in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
Well, this is just terrible. Hikers make a grim discovery while visiting Great Smoky Mountains National Park over the weekend. Park rangers say the backpackers stumbled across a black bear scavenging human remains.
2 months ago, a couple hikers out on the AT, the Appalachian Trail, had just about the worst kind of bear encounter you can imagine. They came upon, first of all, an abandoned camp, and then with some searching around, they found a black bear scavenging the remains of a human, another hiker. I'm gonna pull some news articles just very quickly so we can set the table with what happened with this event, what it was. And what I'm gonna search here is hikers find bear eating human. You can see we got a Newsweek article here out in the Smoky Mountain campsite. You've got TMZ with an article. But when you go through these sources, guys, none of them have the clip that we're about to watch together. So 2 disclaimers. 1, there's no gore to worry about. We don't have to worry about that. There's no human parts to be seen. That's not what the purpose of the video is. 2, it's a short video. We have about 15 seconds. We're going to be able to see the camp. We're going to be able to see the bear, what he's doing. We're going to see some interesting articles also from the hiker who was the victim in this situation. So 2 little just things to throw out there. The reason I wanted to do this video, I've had this video for a couple weeks here, and was 1, just to show the situation, right? We hear about events and accidents in nature. Very often do we have a documentation like this that lets us see what the actual setting was like. 2, the 2 guys who did this couldn't have acted any better in my opinion. I think the way they reacted to this situation was incredible. So I wanted to talk about everything they did right so we can learn from it as well. I'm going to start carrying some different things, in fact, because of what these guys did and what they talked about. One thing I like to say a lot, guys, is the situation doesn't matter. What happens to you doesn't matter. How you react to the situation is what defines you as an individual and as a person. These 2 hikers reacted incredibly well. So let's dive in. These 2 hikers had been on the AT for 3 nights, and this was their 4th day. They had been up on the trail and were hiking down into a valley for camp, to set up by a river for a water source, and there was a camp there that they knew they were going to be using. So as they were descending, one of the comments this guy who recorded the video made was they saw tons of bear sign, a lot more bear sign than normal. And one of the reactions, guys, that I saw regarding this attack was people saying, hey, I thought black bears weren't aggressive. So just one quick reminder, there are 2 types of bears we deal with predominantly here in North America. We've got black bears, and then you've got brown bears, right, or grizzlies. And black bears, very common, but pretty skittish, right? A lot of people will describe them like a dog. They run pretty easily if they see a human. Brown bears can be aggressive. They're very scary. The thing is, a brown bear attack most commonly is going to be from defensiveness, protecting young, protecting food. It's a defensive attack. Black bear attacks, most commonly, when they're fatal and deadly, are because of a predatory behavior. So if you look at the article here, lone predatory black bears responsible for most human attacks. Most fatal attacks by North American black bears during the past century were conducted by lone male animals that stalked and then killed their human victims as prey. This is from the Anchorage Daily News, okay? Something to be aware of, right? A lot of people don't think of black bears as being predatory, but when they attack and kill, it's oftentimes a lone predatory male. So just a heads up, who knows what happened here, but for all of us to know. So these guys were hiking down the valley, making their way towards camp. Like I said, they had seen more bear sign than normal, and they had noted that on their way down. When they get to the bottom of the valley, they get to their campsite and they notice somebody had already set up camp there. There was a tent set, there was a makeshift picnic table, and in fact here, this is part of the video here. If you look, that right there is the second hiker. The guy taking the video is the first hiker. This is that little makeshift table that people have made. It looks like out of wood and logs. But they got to that table. Another camp had been set. So they started setting up where they had availability, and they started looking around. On the table, they noticed some personal artifacts. A cell phone was sitting there on the table. And to them, it looked like someone had made lunch and then gone for a little afternoon hike while leaving all their stuff out. So at first they were a little aggravated, right? They were thinking, why is he going to leave all this stuff out here? And It looks like even some food stuff. So they set up camp. They go down to the river, and here I'll show you what that river is. Here's that river that's right by their camp. They get water, they make coffee, and at this point, after drinking some coffee, decide to look around. They hadn't seen this other camper, so they hike up and down the trail. I think he said a mile up and down, trying to see if they could figure out where this person was. Never found him. So his buddy went back to making coffee and making dinner or whatever he was doing at the table. And this guy goes down to the river to do some fishing. Okay. And here, we'll take a look at the clip though. Let's watch this for a second. And then I'm going to stop a couple times to make some points. We'll watch it all the way through, and then we'll dive into what it really shows. There's that bear right there looking at him. Okay, so that bear had been sleeping on the other side of the river the entire time they were there, making coffee, setting up. They had not even noticed it. This guy had now gone back down to the river so he could do some fishing. He was trying to get a little fishing in, and he was down there looking for a spot, and he said he was looking around, and he started noticing a little bit of like refuse or maybe food trash on the other side of the bank. In fact, let me pull it back. Right here. Here, let me let it go. So right here, you see right here, he noticed that, and he said that started making him look around a little bit more, which is when he noticed that bear right on the other side. At this point, he knows the bear's there. He can see that bear's doing something on the other side of the river. So he goes back to get his buddy and lets him know, hey, there's a bear over here. So they went down together to that river and brought bear spray with him. That's one of the things he also wanted to make a point of is bear spray was so important in this situation. They could not have done what they needed to do without it. They couldn't have been as aggressive as they needed to without it. And it was hugely beneficial. So they went with bear spray over to the river. They brought trekking poles and started waving trekking poles in the air and banging and yelling and making as much noise as they possibly could. The bear didn't seem fazed. They couldn't scare him off of this spot. And so instead, they turned and started going back up to camp. Now, that camp's about 20 feet up from the river. It's not that far. And they hear the bear crashing off. So they turn around and they can see the bear running up the mountain there to kind of skedaddle out. Now, this is also when they notice the other hiker. So the bear, they think, was trying to drag him up, and then it tumbled the body back down into the river. So this is when they saw, oh, you know, shit, there's a body there. And they went across the stream since the bear had left to investigate more. The that blue thing, let me pull it up here real quick. So this blue thing right here, that is his rucksack or bear bag. That is the other hiker's bear bag. It's actually sitting right there, and a lot of the food had been strewn. And then that body of the hiker was right here. That bear was sleeping on it. And if you know how bears do with food, they kind of bury it, let stuff sit for a little while and sleep there. But he had stashed that hiker right here. Now they investigate the body. They're able to identify. They get some identification off of him. They tried to put him in a better place out of the water. They said secure him as gracefully as they could. At that point, though, the bear started coming back down aggressively at him. So he's coming down trying to defend his little food stash. And these guys go back to camp. So they hike back the 20 feet or 30 feet across the river to the camp that they're at and come up with a game plan. And this is where these guys did amazing. They, first of all, broke camp down, okay? They are miles from cell signal, no beacon with them, and not sure exactly what they're going to do, he was saying. So they broke camp down one at a time. One guy would watch the bear, who was aggressively over there just watching him. The other guy would break his stuff down and pack, and they would take turns while they packed. Then they felt the need to one more time try to scare that bear off of the hiker. And they went out very aggressively again with rocks and hiking sticks to no avail. This time they said that bear was not leaving and in fact was becoming more aggressive with them. Then these guys took waterproof index cards, something I haven't carried in the past, but I might now. They took these and rubber band them around trees all around camp and on the trail coming in, explaining the situation, letting people know the danger, and just warning other folks in case they stumble in. after grabbing all this stuff and putting the warnings up, they then hike out. And remember, this is late. They had already set up camp for night. They have repacked and they hike out. They go 4 to 5 miles, lots of climb to get back up on a ridge and find cell signals. So once they get up there, they're able to call in what's going on. They let the rangers know, and the rangers ask them the next day to meet them at a certain trailhead. So that night, after letting rangers know, they hike into another spot. He said they saw another bear when setting up in that spot, but it ran off like it was supposed to, so it was a better situation. And they stayed the night. The next morning, they hiked back to the rangers, let them know what their story was. The rangers let them know they came in the middle of the night, found that bear, just like they had said, and euthanized it. They had to take it out. And, you know, in most states, when bears have contact with humans of any kind, any physical contact, that's usually the way the state handles that type of bear, because then the bear can become a problem, habituated, you know, in this case, you know, worse than that. So, incredibly crazy situation. Let's watch this entire 15-second clip. And here it is, guys. They just finished setting up camp. One guy's making coffee while the other guy wants to fish, and he notices something's going on. So let's go ahead and watch this clip a couple times here. So there's that bear bag over here. You can see the black bear is, I mean, he looks like he's eating, unfortunately, but he's right there on his food stash. This guy's just figuring out what's going on, looks over at his buddy. Buddy doesn't even know yet. And that is right where everything started, right? That guy, his buddy doesn't even know the bear's there yet. He's going down to fish. He's seeing the bear bag on the other side of the river now for the first time. He's seeing the bear doing something on the other side of the river. And from here, they made a plan. And these two guys handled it extremely well. I couldn't have done any better myself. In fact, I told him, you know, you guys handled that, first of all, amazingly well, but also opened my eyes up as to some of the stuff I should be carrying out there as well with me. That is all I have. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Crazy experience, right? I just wanted to share that with everyone. Hope you're staying safe. See you soon. Bye.
I'm just stuck here in a dream.